So currently, I'm speaking with Mark, who is the Senior Technical Director at James Fisher Tankships. Hi, Mark. Thanks for joining me today. Would you be able to introduce yourself, maybe provide us with a brief background of your time in the industry and how you got to your current role?
Yeah, so my background in the industry, it's my career in full. I've worked at sea, or worked in the marine industry for just about 25 years now. I started off by going to sea at 18. So I went to sea at 18. I remained at sea for around 12, just over 12 years. I was sailing predominantly deep sea on large container vessels. I came ashore and started working for James Fisher in January 2010. So that's obviously the present company. Within James Fisher, I've carried out multiple roles and kind of worked my way up to my present position. So I started off as a project manager. I then became a superintendent and ship manager, a role which I did for approximately sort of 7 years, and that was directly managing the vessels, such as the Superiority, which you've obviously visited. I became fleet manager in 2018, and then spent sort of 5 years, or yeah, just about 5 years doing that job, and then moved up into the senior technical role there. So I've got quite a wide range in career in the marine industry, and at James Fisher, I've kind of enhanced my knowledge by doing various roles and working up through the business.
Given the complexity of all the different roles, I'm assuming that that's really helped you in your current role and understanding what's required.
Absolutely. So, you know, the superintendents, the ship managers, the marine superintendents who I lead, I've worked in their position before. So that gives you a real idea. And also having a marine background, being at sea, that gives you that empathy with the seafarers. You know, you're able to understand the challenges that they undergo on a day-to-day basis, be it bad weather, be it, you know, delays in port schedules, be it breakdowns, you know, technical issues on board. You've felt that before in your own time at sea, so you kind of understand what they're going through, which is, I think, it's a real positive, and it really assists us to work closely with them.
And from what I understand, your current role has quite a large remit. Would you be able to tell us a bit more about your responsibilities and maybe what a standard day looks like for you?
Yeah. So in my current role, so I'm accountable for the sort of safe and efficient day-to-day operation of our tanker fleet. So that's 17 vessels, ranging from 3,000 deadweight right up to 35,000 deadweight, and they're trading, you know, predominantly in Northwest Europe, but we also have 3 ships in the Caribbean and 1 ship which kind of does a more worldwide trade, if you will. She goes down to the South Atlantic, for example, the Mediterranean. All right. A normal day. So I lead the ship managers, the marine superintendents, electricians, purchasers, team of general administrators. So there isn't really a normal day. It's very diverse. You never quite know what's going to, you know, crop up. It could be requests to carry a specific type of cargo. It could be, can we go to a specific port? We could have technical issues that we need to deal with. We could be looking to clear the vessels with certain charterers. I do a lot of customer liaison as well with our charterers, vetting departments, for example. Quite a lot of terminal visits, port visits. And I spend quite a bit of time on board the vessels as well, you know. So we understand our vessels, we understand what the crews are, the challenges they face, and because of the geography, we can get on board and we can work with them and ultimately try and make their life as comfortable and support them best possible in order to do the job they do, delivering vital energy across the UK and beyond.
So when we were arranging my visit to the Superiority, we had to prep for several potential dates and embarkation locations. And the fleet director actually mentioned to me that for a coastal tanker like the Superiority, the challenges of anticipating specific routes and dates could actually be more challenging than it would be for a larger tanker, say an Aframax or a Suezmax. Would you be able to explain why that is the case?
That is very correct, and we are more susceptible maybe to port changes, to short notice port changes, changes in the vessel's rotation. We can get weather bound. There can be port congestion, which happens quite regularly as well. So the challenges that brings my team, obviously I'm more interested in the technical dynamics and the operation of the vessel. but it does bring significant challenges, because if you're organising maybe a service, it could be that you've got somebody on to do an annual service of some of your equipment, and then the port rotation changes last minute, or even down to crew changes, delivering the food and spare parts for the vessel. You've got the parts moving, and then we have a change in port, and it's the logistics really. So it brings a lot of logistical challenges, but it's something that you just become familiar with, to be honest. The team are very dynamic. They understand that this will happen, and then they're generally well prepared and well versed at sort of seizing the moment and moving on best they can.
When Sebastian, the cadet, took me through the stockroom, he said that the crew carry backpacks for absolutely everything on board, even down to replacement light bulbs for the cabin bathrooms, just to make sure that whatever the crew might need urgently, they have on hand. So as your role also involves vessel performance monitoring, what specific things are you looking for?
Yeah, from our side, there's quite a lot of regulatory compliance that we have to adhere to. So we're monitoring performance for various reporting schemes that we have to feed into. And mainly we're looking at kind of hull efficiency. We're looking at speed achieved versus fuel consumed. We're also looking at the performance of pieces of equipment on board the vessel. So maybe it's an engine, maybe it's an auxiliary engine, it can be a pump, and we have tools that help us with that. So we have quite a lot of electronic tools. We have some condition monitoring equipment where it basically monitors vibration of critical pieces of equipment, and we can tell through the trending, if a piece of equipment is beginning or looking like it's going to fail, and then what we'd look to do is react, in a proactive manner rather than being reactive and trying to deal with the issue after the piece of equipment's failed. So we're monitoring quite a lot in general, but what we're really looking at, I'm looking at efficiencies and performance of equipment. So the fuel, for example, I don't particularly look after the fuel purchasing, the fuel consumption, but I am looking that we're using that fuel in the best possible manner, because it's a large expense in operating your vessels, and an environmental impact. We want to be as environmentally sensitive as possible, so therefore we want to be as fuel efficient as possible, and that can come down to we're noticing that our speed's dropping off. We stop the ship, we clean the hull, which will then bring that efficiency back up. We burn less fuel, we're saving money, and we're also emitting less carbon, for example.
Remy the master told me that sometimes he gets direction from the onshore team to lower the vessel speed if there isn't an urgency in cargo delivery.
Yeah, we do. It's not my team directly who would give that order. That would come more from voyage operations, who they know whether there's maybe congestion in the port ahead, and we're not going to achieve much by steaming at full speed, because we're going to spend a period at anchor. We're better to be efficient. We're better to take the power off and save some fuel, save some carbon discharge, if you will, and arrive in a timed manner than get there at full speed. But yes, we do it, but not my team directly. But it's something that we are monitoring, continuously.
So during the tour, Sebastian pointed out that some of the most vital equipment receives thousands of hours worth of maintenance during voyages. So clearly keeping the Superiority in tip-top condition throughout a voyage is essential. But how do you ensure that she receives the extra updates she needs?
Yeah, so ultimately we operate a planned maintenance system. It's part of ship management. It's part of adhering to the ISM code. We have a planned maintenance system. It's an electronic system we use. All the manufacturer's guidance is in there. That's automatically uploaded, and that will give us maintenance periods. So we adhere to the manufacturer's guidelines. So if an engine's due an overhaul at a certain time, a certain amount of running hours, of course, we make sure that work's done. In relation to dry docks, the tankers that we have will all dry dock twice in a 5-year period. So we normally dock them year 1, and then again year 3, and then again year 5. Okay, which will involve bringing it out of the water. The hull will be cleaned. She'll get a fresh lick of paint, again to help that efficiency, to keep our fuel consumptions down, to keep our fuel our speed up, shall we say, keep the vessel running as efficiently and effectively as possible. All right, but ultimately, we take the ship out of the water, we dry dock her twice in a 5-year period. During that period, you'll also get maybe engine maintenance, cargo pump maintenance. It's basically a full service and MOT for a ship.
So what happens to a tanker after a certain point? Do they get retired from use? What does that look like?
In Northwest Europe, depending on the charterer, 20 years of age is a broad cut-off point where they won't want to hire the vessel anymore. There is exceptions to that, and we've worked and we've continued to trade vessels up to 25. But broadly speaking, at 20, that would be the cutoff where the ship's sort of tradable life in Northwest Europe comes to an end. At that point, there's options for the vessels because they're still very, very usable anywhere else, or in lots of other environments. You can scrap the vessel. You know, you could send it off to be broke up. But ultimately, what we tend to do is we would sell the vessel. All right. The vessels, like I said, they've got much more life in them. They've been well maintained. They've been looked after. Generally, we keep ships throughout their lifespan, so it would have been within our business for 20 years. And normally the vessels will go off and they'll work as maybe a bunker barge, or they'll go and work I don't know, Panama, Far East, West Africa, multitude of places where they have a longer lifespan there. The regulations allow, or the oil companies will allow them to trade that little bit longer.
Thanks so much for speaking with me today, Mark. And for all you other listeners and watching out there, thank you for watching, and don't forget to watch the next episode of our Voyage series. Thank you.